Hi, I want to show you how to do a long tail cast on. The reason why this is called a long tail cast on is because you use a tail of yarn as well as a section of yarn that's coming from your working ball. Most people start a cast on with a slip knot, which is over with the right, pinch the top strand and place it inside that circle. That's a regular slip knot. You can start your knitting with that, and that counts as the first stitch. I don't like to start my long tail cast on with a slip knot. I just don't like to have that little nubbin of a knot at the beginning. So I just drape the yarns over my thumb and forefinger with the tail over the thumb towards me and the working yarn coming from the ball away from me. I grasp on to the tails of both sides of the yarn, and I take my knitting needle and I simply use the top strand and turn that strand over onto the needle once. You can see it's just a simple twist on the needle. Now we've got our hands set up like a long tail cast on. It looks sort of like a V or a heart shaped or a slingshot. I'm going to take my working needle, hold on to this stitch with your first finger so it doesn't slip away from you. I'm going to point my needle outside under the first strand, inside over the index finger strand, down between the two thumb strands, and then I pull my thumb out. All right, we've cast on 2 stitches. The first stitch was simply that twist when we started. Now you're going to peek through the curtains. Here's the curtains with the tail towards you and the working yarn away from you. Part the curtains with your thumb and your forefinger and hang on to the yarns that are dangling below. Tip your hand back and you're in the position to long tail cast on. Under the outside of the thumb, over the inside of the index finger, needle down between the 2 strands at the thumb and pull your thumb out. Pull one strand, it's the thumb strand, just carefully up to the needle. You don't want it too tight. So peek between the 2 strands of yarn, hold on to the danglies yarn, tip your hand back like a slingshot. Under, outside the thumb, over the index strand, down between the 2 strands around the thumb and pull the thumb out. Sometimes it looks like people are casting on very quickly, and that is simply because they don't let go of the yarn between stitches. So for instance, open the curtains, grasp the yarn and tip your hand back. Under, over, down, and off. Now watch, I'm just going to reinsert my thumb back into that same spot and pull it slightly against the needle. Now my left hand is still in the position to do the next stitch. So all I have to do is tip my hand back, under, over, down between, and let go. Reinsert the thumb, tip your hand back, start over, under, over, down, pull the thumb out, put the thumb back in, under, over, thumb back in, under, over, thumb back in. It's important not to pull the working yarn too tight. Neither strand should be tight. The stitches should move on the needle. If you re-grasp the yarn every time by parting the curtains, holding onto the dangles, and tipping your hand back, it's really important not to tip your hand back and pull on these strands because that's going to make the previous stitch too tight. Just place your hand inside the strands, your finger and thumb inside the strands, hold on, and then just gently lean your hand backwards to form that slingshot. You don't want to have any great tension on these. It'll make the cast on too tight. Under, over, down, under, over, and one example of a long tail cast on. Have fun!